Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 265. Without any delay, start explanation. Marchand was also stunned for a moment. In his mind, he was certain that Tang Wulin's small body size would be able to dodge his attack. This was not supposed to happen even if they were to confront each other without holding back. What was happening? Tang Wulin crashed into the ground. As sparks flew before his eyes, he was left feeling speechless. This was the unfortunate consequence of him being unfamiliar with his body. However, he discovered that his ability to take a beating was even more powerful. Such a heavy blow to his body felt like just a mild shock with minimal discomfort. He turned over and leaped up. Again. Boom, boom, boom. During the frontal collision, Tang Wulin attempted to utilize his dragon wings. He was trying to exercise control over his body after his transformation, but his ability to do so was still not comparable to when he knew his own body after all. He was blasted away by Marchand's impact over and over again every time as he stood up from the ground. It had only taken a moment for his entire body to be covered in injuries. Even so, something incredible was unfolding before them. Every time Tang Wulin was blasted away by Marchand or slammed against the ground with a soul skill, he thought that the competition was about to end. Yet, Tang Wulin still managed to get up each time and acted as if nothing had happened. His fighting abilities had not weakened at all. His post-transformation body was genuinely difficult to control, especially the dragon core that turned into a heart shape. The blood essence power being channeled out was too powerful. When Tang Wulin made a move, the energy surging out from his dragon core infused into his body and made him lose control immediately. The surge was so overwhelming, there was no way he could use his soul skill. His strength was so powerful he could not control it. Even though Marchand was a pure strength-type soul master, he was equipped with rich combat experience which allowed him to use all sorts of combat skills endlessly. Moreover, Tang Wulin realized that Marchand was a Tang sect disciple. His controlling crane-capturing dragon technique was cultivated with such perfection. The controlling crane-capturing dragon technique was very effective when used against an opponent like Tang Wulin with poor control over his body and could frequently be used to drag him from the side. Marchand watched as Tang Wulin dashed over again foolishly, so he bent his back and turned his body to the side while moved his hands in a circle to guide Tang Wulin's body into losing balance. His right hand made a scooping movement and grabbed Tang Wulin's ankle. Then, he slammed Tang Wulin's body ferociously onto the floor. Boom! A deep hole appeared on the ground as a result of the impact. Marchand raised his leg and stamped down just in time to be blocked by Tang Wulin's hands, who turned over in time and pushed away. They had already repeated such scenarios countless times. Marchand knew he was exerting enough strength to break steel into pieces, but Tang Wulin acted like it was nothing. He could always get up unaided, and despite looking a little shaky, he would continue to fight. Marchand was truly at a loss for words. Tang Wulin would be on the defensive almost every time they clashed, and he was only able to block Marchand occasionally. Marchand discovered that Tang Wulin's fighting technique appeared extremely undeveloped, making him incapable of even controlling himself, but during a real full frontal collision, Marchand's strength was still not holding up. He was unable to take the upper hand even in the form of his martial soul avatar. What was the boy really up to? While Marchand was dumbfounded, Tang Wulin kept adjusting to his new situation. Being under such continuous attacks was very painful, of course, but his dragon core heart pumped out bloodline power every time, allowing him to heal quickly. Moreover, his bones and muscles were extremely tough, so he could recover after suffering such heavy blows. If this continues, this boy will tire me to death. His soul power also had its limits, even if he had a soul Dolor's cultivation base. Moreover, Marchand had maintained his martial soul avatar state the entire time he was fighting Tang Wulin. Marchand decided not to exhaust himself anymore. The 8th soul ring on his body was finally glowing for the very first time. Grabbing Tang Wulin's ankle once again, he suddenly leaped up, taking both of them skyward. Marchand's aura changed abruptly, and Tang Wulin instantly felt an explosion of power, like a volcanic eruption, pushing against his body. Ghastly, pale white flames were burning on Ma Shan's body. These were a form of heatless fire, but Tang Wulin could clearly sense that the power radiating from Ma Shan's body had increased by at least threefold. What was that? Was it the legendary strength flame? It was the strength of perfection. As Tang Wulin was dumbstruck with amazement, the fifth golden soul ring on his body was also glowing for the first time. He had no idea what this golden soul ring granted him, but he could sense subconsciously that he would need to depend on its strength to brace for the impending threat. It came from his 10th seal, so this golden soul ring was supposed to have an even more powerful amplification effect on him than his 4 previous soul skills. What would its effect be, though? Immediately, Ma Shan could sense an extraordinary power radiating from Tang Wulin while the boy's entire body suddenly trembled violently. In truth, it was not Tang Wulin who was trembling but Ma Shan himself. Ma Shan's strength flame, which had just been elevated, greatly amplified his own power. His hands grabbed Tang Wulin's ankles separately in an attempt to tear him apart and bring the battle to a close. Yet, he discovered that as he held onto Tang Wulin's ankles, his arms began to tremble uncontrollably after Tang Wulin's 5th golden soul ring was illuminated. Soon after, Ma Shan's entire body shook violently. There was an explosion and a gold-red radiance burst out. Despite his Soul de l'Orank cultivation base, Ma Shan was immediately blasted away by the terrifying blast. Tang Wulin was astonished. He felt the bloodline power in his body had a unique pulse, producing a high-frequency vibration and unleashing it explosively. The gold-red burst had a blast radius of more than 50 meters. Ma Shan's body was immediately caught up by the gold-red light after being blown away. A series of violent blasts loudly pushed him backward. The booming sounds were heard in the sky again and again before he was finally thrown to the edge of the competition stage, colliding with the protective shield. His body bounced off of the shield and he landed on the ground roughly. This was absolutely unprecedented and shockingly so. Yet, there was only a bitter smile on Tang Wulin's face, because the blood essence power and soul power in his body had been depleted entirely after he had unleashed so much. What was that? Even though it was rather impressive, he did not have the strength to continue anymore after that one technique. He descended from the sky. With his soul power and blood essence power exhausted, the system determined that Tang Wulin did not have the energy to continue fighting, so he was immediately transferred out of the competition arena. It was his first loss. This was his first defeat after he had joined the Star Do Battle Network, and it was mired in confusion. There was no doubt that the battle had helped him learn to exercise control over his strength, while his Bloodline Soul Ring's 5th soul skill had a very impressive effect. Yet, what was going on with the technique? Could it be that all his strength would be emptied once the soul skill was unleashed? It was only a one-off deal for such a soul skill no matter how powerful it was. Tang Wulin was defeated in a baffling manner while Ma Shan had won in a similarly baffling manner. He was transferred out a moment after Tang Wulin. He stared at Tang Wulin in bewilderment. What's with that soul skill of yours? Why was I left completely helpless? Strange. Very strange. Tang Wulin spoke with a bitter smile. I just recently attained this soul skill, so I have yet to discover its function. Commander Ma, that's all for today. I'll go back and meditate on this for a moment. We shall try again next time. Tang Wulin bid farewell to Ma Shan as he hastily logged out from the Star Do Battle Network. He returned to his living quarters and crossed his legs to meditate. The battle today was very helpful for him to make sense of his new condition. There was no doubt that his control over his entire body was greatly reduced due to his all-round elevation, but this was not necessarily a bad thing. His fighting capacity could certainly be greatly improved by this change once he could exercise full control with his original base number. Nevertheless, what was that 5th bloodline soul skill of his? What was truly going on with that? Tang Wulin thought back to how he felt when he was unleashing his soul skill. He was amazed to discover that his memory seemed to have improved as well. He could recall every detail of the battle precisely. It felt unusually clear. No, that was not the blood-soul fusion skill unleashed by his soul power and blood essence power at the time, only the Golden Dragon King's 5th soul skill. It was purely the motion of his bloodline power. Then, the bloodline power produced a form of strange high-frequency vibration. The vibration produced a resonance wave that overlapped in layers and accumulated continuously before exploding on Marshan's body over and over again. It was formed from the overlapping resonance wave. On the other hand, the attacking ability of such a blow was completed by his bloodline's vibration. Due to the power of the explosion, it consumed an extremely large amount of energy. When his bloodline power was almost completely exhausted, his dragon core contracted violently and extracted the energy required from itself. His soul power was stripped away and converted into blood essence power in order to maintain such a high-frequency explosion. Could it be that his soul core and dragon core could convert each other's energy now that he had broken through the 10th seal? This also signified that the relationship between the two cores was growing even closer. C1023, the 5th Bloodline Soul Ring Soul Skill. If the soul skill unleashed purely using soul power was so powerful, then, how about when he used the Blood-Soul Fusion skill? Even though the rate of consumption would certainly be quicker, the explosive force would be even more powerful as well, right? I'll give it a try for sure later. As Tang Wulin began his meditation and recalled all the gains and losses from the battle with Marshan earlier, he immediately felt that he had an abundance of benefits from the experience. The elevation was an extremely direct process as it was related to his overall fighting capacity. However, it was no easy task using a brand new ability in a genuine battle. He would still require an even longer period of time and more actual combat experience. Fortunately, the Federal Star-Do Battle Network Challenge's final stage had begun. A few days later, Tang Wulin was surprised to find that the situation in the battle network had changed when he entered it once again. Upon logging into the system, the first thing that appeared before him was a great golden door. He stepped past the illuminated door and in the next moment, he was transferred to a completely different spot after he crossed its threshold. "Welcome to Star-Do City," announced the electronic voice. Star-Do City? Was that the city of the Star-Do Battle Network? There was no doubt that the entire artificial intelligence system had only begun to be applied, so there were still a lot of flaws, but everything was definitely improving. Star-Do City appeared to be more advanced than their West Division, as it at least looked more like a city. The two words, Little Tang, floated above Tang Wulin's head while displaying his battle results. What a waste that it was no longer the original undefeated score anymore. Please proceed to Star-Do City's Great Battle Soul Arena to prepare for the competition. The first round of the final is the elimination tournament. Please be well prepared for the battle. Your opponent will be drawn randomly. The electronic voice spoke once again as it reminded Tang Wulin about the competition. Yes, the first 3 rounds of the Federal Star-Do Battle Network Challenge Finals were all eliminations in order to determine the last 32 contestants before proceeding with the round-robin tournament. Tang Wulin could clearly remember his mission. He could not complete it by becoming one of the final 3 this time, but he would need to become the champion of the Soul Master competition. He thought it was peculiar that he would not have been so confident in the past, but ever since he defeated Bloodline, Tang Wulin felt that it was possible for him to become a champion. The feeling and anticipation had only grown more intense after he broke through the Golden Dragon King's 10th seal. The only thing that troubled him was that he did have complete control over his strength, so this was quite an issue. The best method to test his fighting capabilities was to engage in battles. Finals, here I come. An arrow formed from shadows and light guided Tang Wulin as he headed to the Star-Do Great Battle Soul Arena for inspection and registration. The process of the inspection was very simple, for it was immediately completed after he arrived at the designated division. However, Tang Wulin discovered something unusual. He did not see any other contestant in this place. The location he was at did not appear to be that different from the West Division, while the Star-Do Great Battle Soul Arena, looking only slightly larger, was empty. He was there all alone. Why was this happening? Tang Wulin was unaware that this was a measure taken by the system in order to ensure every contestant's identity was even more secure. The words Little Tang above Tang Wulin's head slowly disappeared when he was stationed in the Golden Region. In place was a code name with only the number 33. That's pretty weird. Are we allowed to participate in the competition with just a code name? It's rather interesting, though. I wonder if the Federation can see my name in any case. I guess it doesn't matter if they know, now that I'm in the Blood God Army. The inspection is complete. The automatic draw of opponents is complete. Please be prepared for the competition. In 10 minutes, your match shall begin. As expected, it was quite different from the preliminary stage. At least, its manner was not as simple and crude as before. Tang Wulin was unaware of how important the Federal Star-Do Battle Network challenge in the future was. Anyone capable of entering the finals in the first challenge would leave behind a major mark in the history of the Star-Do Battle Network and be remembered by history. He crossed his legs and took a seat as he focused his mind and calmed his breathing. Through his cultivation over the previous few days, Tang Wulin discovered that his spiritual power seemed to have improved remarkably following the elevation of his cultivation base. Moreover, it was a leap of advancement this time. Although he was certain that he had yet to break through to Spirit Domain, he had certainly advanced further into Spirit Abyss. He could clearly sense the most minute changes on every part of his body through his spiritual power now. He could also use it to feel any signs of disturbance in the outside world at a great distance. More importantly, he could distinguish the elements of the formless energy molecules in the air. This was the most powerful part for him. According to his knowledge gained from his studies in Shrek Academy, one needed to achieve Spirit Domain in order to do this. The outstanding feature of the Spirit Domain was its clear distinction of elements. Even though it was only a vague feeling for him right now that was not crystal clear, he could sense that he was not far from that point. On the other hand, Spirit Domain was already the highest level achievable by ordinary human beings. It was said that when one achieved the Spirit Domain spirit cultivation base, a spiritual domain would be produced on its own in the person. Everyone's spiritual domain was different, but undoubtedly, having one was highly beneficial for the person's cultivation base while also significantly amplifying one's fighting capabilities. Every title Dolor had the spiritual power cultivation base of Spirit Domain as a foundation. It was said that one could never enter the realm of demigods without achieving the spirit rank of Spirit Domain. He would return to learn from Bloodline after the competition ended and also look into how far his spiritual cultivation base had gone. Tang Wulin made up his mind. There was no doubt that the heartless Dolor Kaudaji acting as Bloodline was a limit Dolor, and he was definitely a Spirit Domain powerhouse. Even with today's technological advancement, where Limit Dolor's strategic power was not as great as before, they were certainly not weaklings weak either. The Federation dared not go too far with the Tang sect mainly because of the two Limit Dolors that were still present, the Heartless Dolor and the Amorous Dolor. Tang Wulin suspected that even the Federation was unaware that Bloodline from the Blood God Army was the Heartless Dolor. The Blood God Army seemed to have its own specialized system for maintaining the secrecy of its identity. No matter where one came from, every rule and regulation here had to be followed upon entering the Blood God Army. Tang Wulin was extremely pleased that the Blood God Army had already sacrificed so much for the Federation, so it was entirely appropriate for the Blood God Army to protect itself from external affairs. 10 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. A stream of golden light flashed past and Tang Wulin had already arrived in the middle of the competition arena. The area was silent. The entire competition stage was emitting a faint white glow. The stage had a diameter of 1,000 meters, so it was absolutely enormous. 1,000 meters in diameter was considered a luxury even for a mecha battle. In the distance, his opponent had already appeared about 300 meters away. Their face was blurred, so he could only tell that the opponent was a man with a number suspended above his head. It was 118. Tang Wulin squinted his eyes and adjusted his body while he waited for the electronic voice's announcement. As opposed to the tranquility on the competition stage, the entire Federation was filled with excitement at present on the outside of the competition stage. The Federation spared no expense when investing massive funds to provide live soul streaming across their territory on the Federal Star-Do Battle Network Challenge's final stage. It was the Federation's first attempt to use the technique. Usually, soul streaming was carried out at the regional level, so the current attempt at live streaming over the entire Federation was, firstly, due to the Federation's success at launching its first satellite a year ago. Secondly, the Federation was promoting the epoch-making event of the Star-Do Battle Network. The development budget for the Star-Do Battle Network was an astronomical figure. Without adequate funding, the Federation could not make ends meet. The Federation could only receive more funding from the federal parliament by generating a high level of public interest. As a result, this competition was initiated. It was the center of attraction for everyone. The effect was even better than imagined. Despite the development of soul technology which had made its way into the people's hearts, the people on Dolor continent still upheld the ideology of individual heroism. 20,000 years ago, the Tang sect's first ancestor ascended to godhood and finally defeated the overweening and ambitious Martial Soul Hall in order to return freedom to the continent's world of soul masters in the end. 10,000 years later, the founder of the Spirit Pagoda, Holy Ice Dolor Huiyuhao, depended on his soul strength to finally defeat the Holy Spirit cult's subversive operations and also defeat the Beast God at the time. He made a conscious effort to reject the powers of darkness from the ever-influential Sun-Moon Empire, which gave the Star Luo Empire its freedom before Star Luo continent came into existence until today. The number of limit Duluos today was much higher as compared to the beginning, yet how high could the Soul Master's peak fighting capacity be actually? What sort of abilities did the younger generation of powerhouses have? These matters were of no concern to the general public. Without a doubt, the Federal Star-Do Battle Network Challenge had given the masses an opportunity to understand the Soul Master's world better. Moreover, the live streaming with its signal covering every corner of the continent provided an avenue for the people to watch such a great competition without having to leave their homes. In addition, it was free. So, how could it not attract the attention of the public? Even the memories of Shrek City being destroyed seemed to have been wiped away by the competition. Countless screens were playing recordings of the competition. There was a total of 128 tournaments in today's first round of the competition. The tournaments were not carried out simultaneously due to the live streaming. They were divided into 10 groups, with 10 tournaments in each group. There were specific commentators and staff assigned for each group during the live streaming. Tang Wulin and number 118's fight was the first match that was broadcasted on the live stream. It was randomly picked from the lots generated automatically. The scene that appeared before the audience was contestant number 33 versus contestant number 118. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin the competition. The audience watched as a sea of moving shadows appeared on the screen following the announcement from the electronic voice. The contestants from both sides moved at the same time. Tang Wulin's movement could only be described as earth-shaking. He stomped his left foot against the ground as he dashed out. His stomp made a deafening boom. The ground, within a range of 10 meters, sank at the spot where he had stomped his foot, with a large number of cracks appearing on the ground. At the same time, a sonic boom was heard. A distance of 300 meters was covered within a split second. What was that? Oh, my God! What kind of explosive force is that? Can a human body truly withstand that? He is not cladded in battle armor though. The commentators were startled. They had to continuously swap places among the 10 tournaments in order to cover the live broadcast today. They switched over to the scene of whichever tournament that was interesting. Tang Wulin's single step forward was truly shocking, such that 2 commentators lost track of the other ongoing tournaments as they narrated the present fight. It was incredibly fast. The commentator could barely react to the situation. The opponent was similarly caught off guard. Tang Wulin relied on the reaction force from the ground together with the gravitational control of his mountain dragon king's torso bone to lighten his body. At that moment, he accelerated to, at least, twice the speed of sound. Such an explosive speed allowed him to reach the opponent in a split second. He did not use any weapon or skill but only his fist. He threw his first punch at the opponent. If one could slow down the scene at present, one could see that Tang Wulin's skin was gold-red with similarly colored blood vessels that bulged out from under his skin, and overlapping, densely arranged golden dragon scales covering his arm. There were definitely no weak contestants in the final stages of the competition, for they had all grappled and triumphed from the prior competitions of each division. Although Tang Wulin's opponent was shocked, he was quick to react to the situation. He puffed up his chest and contracted his abdomen while simultaneously igniting a light spot on his chest. There was no time for him to unleash his entire set of battle armor, but he still managed to unleash the spotless mirror armor on his chest. He did not attempt to block with his arms, because Tang Wulin's speed was too quick such that there was utterly no time for him to do so. His fist struck at Tang Wulin's temples. At the same time he swung his arms, a sharp hammer appeared in each of his hands. The opponent's judgment was on target. Just as Tang Wulin's punch blasted against his body, his pair of sharp hammers pierced into Tang Wulin's temples precisely. He suffered a punch on his chest, but he had the protection of the mirror armor. He might not necessarily die from the blow, but Tang Wulin would die, without a doubt, if his temples were pierced by the sharp hammers. The opponent was attacking his enemy's vital points to trigger his enemy's reinforcements. It was a split-second decision. The opponent truly deserved to enter the finals. He was satisfied with his own counterattack. It was impossible for Tang Wulin to change directions with his explosive speed. His body would be incapable of withstanding such a powerful charging force. There was a weakness to an overly swift speed. It was precisely the difficulty to exercise control due to the high momentum of the charging force. On the other hand, even if Tang Wulin managed to control himself with great effort to dodge his opponent's fatal blow, his opponent could still have another opportune moment. The opponent is an agility system type, so I don't think his defense is that strong. As luck would have it, he had a domain-type attack which could be triggered in the next moment. The opponent regarded Tang Wulin as an agility-type soul master intuitively. At this moment, the commentator mentioned how incredible the competition was when both parties were only a stone's throw away from each other. The screen was occupied by a golden color in the next moment. It was a pair of golden wings covered with diamond-shaped dragon scales. The scales on the wings were slightly larger but thinner than the scales on his body. When the pair of dragon wings were spread, the wingspan, which was 5 meters, provided the resistance to halt Tang Wulin's charging momentum. At the same time, the opponent's sharp hammers were lowered. The proud expression on his opponent's face was frozen in an instant. It was a waste indeed that Tang Wulin missed his opponent's expression, for he was paying attention to the pair of sharp hammers which had collided into each other. His opponent had misjudged his sudden stop. In the next moment, he threw a punch with his fist. He punched the pair of sharp hammers, pushing forward without much resistance. With the piercing noise of the sharp hammers scratching against his golden dragon scales, his punch landed squarely on his opponent's mirror armor. Boom! The golden dragon claw coupled with the golden dragon king's massive strength burst forth. Number 118's body spun uncontrollably as he was tossed backward in a contorted posture. Then, Tang Wulin's spread-out dragon wings flapped once strenuously. In the next moment, he caught up to his opponent. He threw another punch with his fist without any tricks up his sleeves. With the proud expression frozen on his face, number 118 heard the mirror armor on his chest cracked. He attempted to unleash his battle armor, but instead, he felt like he was knocked by a soul train traveling at a high speed. He completely lost control of his body as his body was blasted away such that even his soul power was shaken into oblivion. He did not even have a chance to unleash his battle armor. How could this be possible? Then, he saw a pair of golden eyes and a fist that was expanding rapidly. Boom! A cloud of blood mist exploded over the sky. Simultaneously, a valiant dragon's roar was heard on the entire competition stage. An enormous shadow of a golden dragon with a savage expression appeared vaguely behind Tang Wulin's back. Although the shadow vanished as soon as it appeared, it left behind a profound impression on everyone. It's a little domineering, isn't it? The commentator was already dumbstruck as this was the Federal Star Do Battle Network Challenge final. It was the first round that was broadcasted live. Hardly anyone was prepared for such an intense shock. The commentators understood the Soul Master's world naturally, but no matter how well they understood it, they were in disbelief as they currently witnessed the scene before them. It was the final stage of the competition where the contestants were chosen from the divisions. Undoubtedly, no one was weak. Despite such a scenario, it took only 2 strikes to kill the opponent. The fatal strike was truly stunning. In addition to the cool dragon-shaped shadow and deafening dragon's roar at the end, it was truly an eye-opening stimulation for the senses. This person's fighting capacity was absolutely terrifying. The audience, in front of the screen, watching the competition could not help but feel suffocated. It was truly a suffocating feeling. They felt the person on the screen had such an exceedingly terrifying presence which influenced them in such a way that they could barely breathe. A gigantic victory sign was displayed on the screen. Although there were 2 attacks, they were both completed in just over a second. It was absolutely the shortest competition among all the competitions held today, and possibly among this year's competitions. The golden wings on Tang Wulin's back retracted. The large, golden words of 33, shimmering with a golden radiance, were suspended above his head. After he retracted his wings, a shadow flashed once and he vanished along with it. Tang Wulin was victorious in the first round of the elimination tournament. The ability of a 6-ring Soul Emperor is rather impressive. That was Tang Wulin's assessment of his opponent. Although he was capable of a quick win over his opponent, in reality, he knew there was not much of a disparity between his opponent and himself. He was capable of dealing with his opponent so quickly because his opponent was incapable of assessing Tang Wulin's ability. All of mankind's strength and endurance had its limits, at least within a certain cultivation-based rank. Yet, the speed and strength displayed by Tang Wulin earlier were, undoubtedly, non-human such that the opponent's assessment was incorrect. If the opponent were capable of positioning himself in a defense position, then he should be able to withstand for a longer period of time. Today's battle was a test for Tang Wulin. A test of his current strength and speed control. For the past few days, he had been trying hard to control his strength. The deeper his awareness ventured, the more surprised he was to find the benefits brought by his 10th layer Golden Dragon King seal. The initial smash feature of his right Golden Dragon Claw and tear feature of his left Golden Dragon Claw could only be triggered with a certain level of probability. However, these features could now be completely triggered by his control. His ability to control his overall performance and the Golden Dragon King's strength was much better than before. He could move his body at high speeds. The speed which he displayed earlier was purely his charging force, yet other Soul Masters of the same rank were incapable of that, let alone unleash an attack at high speed. On the other hand, Tang Wulin was completely unaffected. He spread his wings to reduce his charging force. He felt only a slight discomfort for a short while. He managed to return to his normal state after circulating his blood essence power. In a sense, Tang Wulin was not considered wholly human anymore. His body's endurance could not be compared to a human's. In fact, even a titled Doluor could not measure up to his body's endurance now. As a result, he achieved victory easily. He left the competition arena and logged out from the network to experience the explosive strength he had during the battle earlier. The corners of Tang Wulin's lips cracked into a faint smile. Very good. I've advanced another step in my strength control. He set a goal for himself which was to win the battle against Bloodline in less than a month. He would first need to learn how to control the strength derived from the Golden Dragon King's 10th layer seal properly in order to defeat Bloodline once again. He should only consider the other things after he learned to control himself well. He enjoyed the explosive feeling very much. It seemed like his Golden Dragon King bloodline enjoyed the feeling as well. He supposed it was the Golden Dragon King's inherent quality. He got dressed and left the living quarters. Tang Wulin walked all the way to Blood One's living quarters. It was situated close to him. Then, he sent a text message to Blood One seeking his guidance. Blood One's reply came 10 minutes later when Tang Wulin was about to leave. Blood One replied that he could see him now. Tang Wulin knocked on the door. The door opened. Come in. Tang Wulin walked into Blood One's room and found Blood One sitting cross-legged as if he had been meditating. Sorry for bothering your cultivation. It's quite rude of me, apologized Tang Wulin. Blood One smiled and opened his eyes. There's nothing to apologize for. I've cultivated till my bottleneck, so there's utterly no possibility for me to break through anymore. It may possibly be a matter of life and death for me if I attempt to break through. The possibility of life, in this case, is not even 1%. When the day comes, I'll invite you to witness the ceremony. Perhaps, it will be helpful to you. Tang Wulin spoke with a bitter smile. I hope that day never comes, as the Tang sect still needs your support. Blood One spoke. All right, let's not talk about that anymore. Anything I can help you with? Tang Wulin answered. I sense that I may have another breakthrough in my spiritual power recently, but I can't tell which level it is. I wish to ask you some techniques on how to use spiritual power. Another breakthrough? Breakthrough to which level this time? Asked Blood One. Tang Wulin replied, I seem to be able to sense some energy elements now. You can sense the presence of energy elements? What sort of breakthrough is this? You should have possessed this ability already when you can sense the existence of spiritual power. Blood One raised his brows. Tang Wulin coughed once and spoke, I mean manifestation. In other words, I can see the colors of different energy molecules in the air. Blood One was stunned for a moment. Soon after, his eyes suddenly widened while his pupils constricted in an obvious manner. Tang Wulin watched as Blood One's eyes turned purple gold, with two streams of purple gold radiances enshrouding Tang Wulin's body as if those radiances were solid. Tang Wulin frowned slightly, otherwise, he barely reacted. He did not try to evade, as his eyes were similarly rippling in purple gold, which was far less intense than Blood One's purple gold. However, the radiance that lingered in his eyes was crystal clear. Those two streams of purple gold radiance made only the slightest contact when Tang Wulin immediately sensed a gush of expansive spiritual power wrap around his body in an instant. He did not feel much discomfort, but he felt completely transparent, as though he could be seen through by someone. The dragon core in his body suddenly began bouncing violently, while his initial purple eyes were immediately fused in a gold-red layer. A gush of fierce and tyrannical energy burst forth from his body, while the feeling of being seen through immediately vanished. Tang Wulin only felt the blood essence in his body surging wildly, while a deep dragon's roar was emitted from all over his body, as if something was displaying its dominance. "Ua! I didn't mean to do that," said Tang Wulin with an innocent expression. On the other hand, Blood One cast him a peculiar look. Blood One's purple demon eyes were retracted. "You've already achieved the higher order of the Spirit Abyss spiritual power? How is that possible? Even if you had begun cultivating in your mother's womb, you couldn't have advanced so quickly." One could only imagine Tang Wulin's spiritual rank at present, judging by Blood One's shock. Blood One was especially stunned when he discovered that the bloodline power in Tang Wulin's body could surprisingly fuse together with his spiritual rank. Blood One squinted his eyes and spoke with a deep voice, "There's no need for you to evaluate the specifics of your spiritual power. The ability to sense the energy element signifies that you've entered the higher order of the Spirit Abyss. At the same time, you've touched the threshold of the spirit domain." Tang Wulin spoke, "So, what should I do after this?" Blood One spoke indifferently, "Just continue to feel. When you can finally sense every energy molecule in your surroundings thoroughly, you can then attempt to move them with your spiritual power. Use your spiritual power to move them without using your soul power or blood essence power. Then, invoke a sympathetic response from them. Once you've completed this step, your spirit domain will be fully formed. The process is long and boring, but your spiritual power will grow on its own at your present rank. There's no need to rush. Let nature take its course." "Yes," responded Tang Wulin. It was better for him not to do things aimlessly like a headless chicken. With Blood One's guidance, he would continue cultivating as usual. Hence, it was rather convenient for him. Blood One looked at Tang Wulin as the gaze in his eyes shifted. "Something seemed to have happened to you. Your cultivation base has been elevated. Your blood essence power is denser than before. Furthermore, there's something else that's different. It's as though your blood essence power is alive." Blood One deserved his title of being a limit dolor, for he could see the change in Tang Wulin's body after such a brief moment. Tang Wulin sniggered and said, "There is some elevation that is mainly from my bloodline power. I seem to have broken through a bottleneck recently. Only that after my breakthrough, it's difficult to control my strength. All right, I shall go back to cultivate now." Blood One spoke, "The final stage of the competition has begun. Did you take part in the competition?" Tang Wulin answered, "The first round is completed, and I won." The finals are rather interesting where everyone is assigned a number. I'm 33. Blood 1 spoke, don't forget your mission. I honor my words. Yes, answered Tang Wulin with slight helplessness. Blood 1 gazed after the departing Tang Wulin as he decided to utilize his authority to take a look at the competition's recordings. He felt that Tang Wulin's transformation was huge and exceeded his prediction by a vast difference. Tang Wulin did not return to his own living quarters upon leaving Blood 1's room. Ever since the battle with Ma Shan, he had been staying in his quarters to cultivate. Apart from that, he participated in the competition. So, it was a little boring for him. He made the decision to take a stroll outside, then he would make a call to Gu Yuana. Anyhow, he had adequate merits now, since Ma Shan paid him a large sum. Furthermore, the competition today inspired him to forge his mecha. He was in a different state as compared to others, so the function of his mecha was different naturally. He boarded the elevator and exited the Blood God battalion. Tang Wulin pondered for a moment before he removed the epaulets on his shoulders. He was too young, which made it conspicuous for him to wear his Major General rank. Although Ma Shan was a hot-tempered man, in reality, Tang Wulin's identity would be doubted as well had he encountered other soldiers. He could only avoid such troubles if his rank was announced to the entire army. He removed his epaulets so as to avoid any trouble. He aroused some attention occasionally as the act of not wearing his epaulets was considered breaking the military regulations, only that it was a lighter offense. It went well for him at the rest area. Tang Wulin arrived at the rest area to find the place bustling with activities. After all, it was the only leisure and entertainment place for the soldiers of the Blood God army. Tang Wulin ordered a drink from the bar and took a seat before taking a sip. The drink tasted sweet and was refreshing as it glided down his throat, which made him warm and happy at once. He used his Blood God bracelet to dial Gu Yuana's communicator number as he patiently waited for a response. As expected, Gu Yuana's voice was heard at the other end after a short while. Her voice sounded soft and sweet with a little surprise in her tone. "Father, I miss you. When are you coming back?" Tang Wulin immediately felt all the fatigue and spiritual stress vanish. "The day after tomorrow. I'm going to visit you the day after tomorrow, is that okay?" "Awesome." Gu Yuana called out in excitement, "I shall wait for you then." Tang Wulin talked about some fun things that happened to him in the army. He mentioned how he accidentally defeated Blood 9 and talked about how Ma Shan had a misunderstanding regarding his military rank. He talked incessantly as he shared his joy in the army. Gu Yuana listened in all apparent seriousness and occasionally chimed in with some concern. Tang Wulin felt all warm and fuzzy in his heart while his lips cracked into a warm smile. All of a sudden, he felt someone's aura approaching very close to him. In reflex, he turned his hand over to grab the person. Hee. Ouch. The laughter lasted only for a moment before it turned into an agonizing scream. A strong and powerful figure was immediately pulled over by Tang Wulin and pinned against the table. "Father, what happened?" Gu Yuana cried out in alarm at the other end of the communicator. Tang Wulin hastily spoke, it's fine. Just a colleague fooling around with me." He loosened the grip on Jiang Wuyue's hand as he spoke and cast him a glare. "It's great that you're fine. Father, do come over earlier on the day then. I'll be waiting for you." "Sure." Tang Wulin hanged up the communicator before he looked at Jiang Wuyue, whose expression was all peculiar as he rubbed his wrist. "What are you looking at?" said Tang Wulin in a gruff tone as he was not in a good mood since his conversation with Gu Yuana was interrupted. Jiang Wuyue raised his brows. "Say, how old are you anyway? You have a daughter already? She sounds grown up. How old were you then? You truly are." "Shut up." Tang Wulin spoke grumpily, "She's my girlfriend." Jiang Wuyue was stunned for a moment, then the expression on his face turned even more peculiar. "Tang Wulin, oh Tang Wulin. I truly didn't expect you to have such a dark mind underneath that handsome face of yours. You've such bizarre tastes. You're truly a case of a good-looking man with bad intentions, huh?" A cold radiance shimmered in Tang Wulin's eyes. Are you looking to get beaten up? Jiang Wuyue sniggered. However, please teach me, how did you do that? How did you get your girlfriend to call you father? You have a secret technique? Tang Wulin glared at him. You think too much. She has amnesia, so she retains the memories of a child. Jiang Wuyue looked at Tang Wulin in astonishment. Amnesia? How did that happen? A painful expression flashed past Tang Wulin's face. When she saved me. Jiang Wuyue's expression changed this time. He spoke with a guilty expression. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Tang Wulin shook his head. Perhaps, it's for the best. Frankly, I don't know if I want her to recover. I'm working very hard here, and the situation now seems rather good. At least, I can always have her by my side. Jiang Wuyue's gaze shifted ever so slightly. By your side? You're not bringing her to this place, do you? I understand now. No wonder you're always hoping to get promoted to be eligible for a leave of absence. It's so you can go and visit her. Tang Wulin nodded because there was nothing much for him to hide. She's at the fire basin. I've already visited her once and I'll visit her again the day after tomorrow. Jiang Wuyue suddenly remembered something. Oh right, I learned from Yushue that you're a major general now. He looked at Tang Wulin's epaulets as he was speaking, but there was nothing there for him to see. Tang Wulin nodded. That's right. You've to address me, sir, now. Jiang Wuyue immediately felt his mouth was parched. It had only been a few months. The boy addressed him by sir when they first met in the beginning. Yet right now, the tables were turned. You're progressing a little too quickly, aren't you? What on earth did you do? How did you get promoted so quickly? Tang Wulin answered, hasn't Yushue told you? I'm Bloodline of the Blood God Battalion now. The Blood Gods are all conferred the rank of a general. That's why. You defeated Bloodline? Jiang Wuyue stared at him in bewilderment. Boy, how dare you still spar with me when you already have the ability to defeat Bloodline? Where's your compassion? Tang Wulin rolled his eyes. I thought you were supposed to praise me for my powerful ability? What's wrong with your brain that's making you behave as such? Praise my *SS. I only remember that you hit me. Jiang Wuyue had an aggrieved expression. Tang Wulin's gaze shifted as his lips suddenly cracked into a warm smile. Wuyue, let's view it this way. It's genuinely my fault for hitting you the other day. I'll give you an opportunity to take revenge. Let's go to the Stardow Battle Network. I'll allow you to hit me as much as you want so long as you pay. I won't dodge, defend, or even counterattack. What do you think? You can hit me to your satisfaction as long as you pay me 1,000 Federation coins per minute. With doubt, Jiang Wuyue looked at Tang Wulin. Really? So kind of you? The Federation coins were not that important to him, for there was utterly no need for money in the Blood God army. Besides, they were well treated and were rewarded with a fixed, high income every month. Tang Wulin heaved a sigh and spoke with disdain. I truly didn't expect that you don't even have the courage to hit me. A person like you makes me wonder how you managed to be the close combat battalion commander. Are you the only one in the whole Iron Blood battalion? I should ask Brother Marshan later. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.